battleground choices, which kind of makes it difficult to figure out what they want, especially when you look at the playoffs, picking both Curse Hollow and Braxis Holdout. So here, trying to keep away with some of those. Chinese teams have generally been okay with Braxis Holdout. We'll see if we end up getting that, but Towers of Doom.
All right, let's get into the draft. Game number 1 here between CE and Method as China goes up against Europe here in the group stage.
And also just to tie a little bow on the story with Nick, the main reason why we're actually telling that is because he is still affected to a certain extent.
Things are blurry.
In his play with that, yes. So we're going to find out how much of an impact it's going to have, but yeah, so he is not 100%.
And he just banned out one of his heroes to go, blind or not. This is a hero that can execute, and we're going to get rid of that right away. But the Genji going to come out from Method to start off with a very high priority hero.
This is fast.
Yeah,
There's wins Garrosh. Loving to see the Genji from Method. Both Schwimpy and Aluful share a very common hero pool in their preference. Schwimpy slightly more with a Medivh, but otherwise Genji and Tracer are high priorities for them. And here, wanting to make sure that they get their pick, their choice from that. So Method are first picking that Genji. Plus, the Genji seems to just be climbing in priority and strength potentially too, from what we saw from Fnatic in the last series.
You can't take away too much from that though. Come on.
I mean, on the same note, we have now again a focus on tanks as well. That makes sense with Arcana. He wants to get his pick pretty early. We have also now the global on the Haka side, very European, to go immediately for a global strategy with the setup. And of course, that also allows for certain CC chains to be used later. So very typical beginning of the draft, I'd say. Even the Malfurion priority that we mentioned earlier is still the main support. I don't think that's... I'm not quite sure how the Koreans think about that, considering that Tempest went very hard on Uther here, but especially on the Western side, we have heard from every single team that they still believe that Malfurion doesn't even have another support that contests him on the...
Right, not even close.
One thing I will say about Method is they are fantastic at controlling enemy Twilight Dreams. They are always watching to see how they can interrupt it, and that is something for CE and 365 to keep in mind. Though, in general, China favors Tranquility a lot more. There is an occasional Twilight Dream, so if that's something that 365 wants to move into, he needs to be watching for those kinds of interrupts.
One of the things I actually like about this with the Dahaka pick and what Kato was talking about before in terms of Method playing a macro style, whenever I watch Chinese teams play Tales of Doom, they will, as a 5-man roaming squad, just go for your pumpkins, right? They'll just go in. It's Halloween time. They want that siege. They are not afraid to fight. And by banning away the Ufa, it's like, look, let's just try and take away as much skirmishing potential as possible. If you are going to be forced to try and play macro all day long, then we're going to keep you in those side lanes, but we're just going to dominate, say, the bottom portion of that map, have control of the Mercs, and leave you at that.
But Dahaka Genji is so good at that for Method, because not only can Dahaka stock down and help in getting the 5-man control of the sappers in the bottom, but Genji can also rotate up and either hold the lane or try to take them, sneak them, or even just help make it a 2v1 quickly versus the solo laner of CE Shuyu.
The mobility that we have from Method is definitely fantastic. The gank potential at the top lane, and also Dahaka then burrowing down, so they should be able to react to whatever CE is going to throw their way.
Tracer ban after the Genji pick shows some focus onto Aluful and his hero pool.
I mean, the interesting part with this is also what Method did for the longest time when the new roster formed is they were early on trying to pick a very impactful hero for Schwimpy, and then the rest of the team was mainly supporting him and trying to allow Schwimpy to pop off in team fights and then get those kills. That's why they were so extremely successful for a long time also with the earlier Tracer pick, where they just tried to help him to get the kills and the damage.
Though Uther was banned, I still feel like Method, if they wanted to, could get Rhaegar. Kurson has shown some great play, especially recently on his Rhaegar with his last second Ancestral Heal.
I mean, even with that, Stukov isn't that bad a pick on this map, right?
Yeah.
Sappers.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing with Stukov is that most of the European teams have very much figured out how to play against Stukov, so that most of them are only willing to take him if they have someone else that can help with some additional sustain. Now you have already some self-sustain on Muradin, you have it on Dahaka as well. Genji has some defensive tools, so you can definitely run Stukov as a support here. Gilly mentioned Rhaegar, and Method is sitting at 7 wins and 2 losses in Europe with the hero. It would also allow you the cleanse so that you can play a little bit around Garrosh here. So I'm interested to see what the support is going to be for them, but I feel like those two are your best bet at this point. And we can't forget Deckard is also still around.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I was going to say, I like the fact that Aluful's gone for the Grey main with both Tracer and the Genji taken away from him, both arguably his best heroes. I was wondering, are we going to go for the Hanzo with a scattered arrow build and just full-on focus, as I mentioned before, around that sort of mercenary style of play? He has opted for the grey main, which is more traditional, but there is the Deckard Cain. You call it out, it happens, and this is the first one of the MSB.
Double reset comp for Method. I talked about CE's team fighting, but we can't forget that Method, though they had more objective focus toward the end of the part, they're still obviously a great team fighting team too, with the focus on Schwimpy and his diving potential. We'll see how that works out with the Deckard, who wants to set up his village of potions.
Yes.
You should see them rotating out and back in to be able to pick those up.
I'm curious to see how much of an impact Leoric is going to have for CE, because traditionally what you're trying to do is you're four-manning the bot lane and you have Leoric double soak the mid and the top.
Ooh.
But the problem that I see for that is the mobility that we touched upon earlier, where if you have Genji and Dehaka, now Dehaka can not only mirror the movements of him, but you have Genji coming in and putting additional pressure on Leoric, and all of a sudden you might even get that kill. So if you can still pull the double soak off with that, that's to be seen.
I think for me, what's most interesting, as we've discussed, Deckard Cain, where does he actually fit into this role? Sustain meta is still so very prevalent, but he doesn't have the same sort of saving tools as a Divine Shield, as an Aegis, as a Ancestral Healing, for example. So if Li Ming's not getting those resets, that's not going to be happening. Genji, if he commits in, he's going to have to make sure he gets that job done quite swiftly. I feel as if it's going to be a lot of punishment as to, we know that the Chinese team are going to want to come at us.
Right.
How much value can my Scroll of Sitting look to try and then turn that counter momentum in our favor?
Thoughts on Phoenix?
I'm very scared for this Phoenix. I think there's a lot of ways to be able to stop Warp, and we have to remember that he was heavily nerfed in the big patch. We're talking his shields, his health, the cooldown, I believe, for Warp, or the range, one of it from that too. There is a lot of things that are going to make this Phoenix life hell. Though, we have a potential for an Entomb Planet Cracker combo. I got to cast a whole lot of those for Dorm, so if we could get that set up, that's pretty fun.
I'm going to stick with you, Gilly, and go for predictions to get things going.
Ooh, I gotta go with Method. I feel like they had a good understanding of their opponents in the draft, and CE had a lot of their comforts taken away. It's not the same kind of play that Aloof would like to be playing, so it's Method for me.
Caldo?
I mean, coming from Europe, I'm going to stick with Method here as well, especially since I believe they have to make up now for the performance at the Western Clash. So I think they're going to be extra motivated, and I would be very surprised if they are not going to bring in their A game from game number 1.
Let's give me.
Well, on top of what Gaddle says, they've gone for a reset comp with a Deckard Cain, the first of this tournament, so I'm really excited to see how the interaction actually works, and Method for me as well.
I think it's a clean sweep. I think I have to go with Method too, and see how they're going to be able to play this out. Thank you very much, guys. I think we're probably ready to check in with our commentators in a moment, of course, as we check in with Twitch before that. 69% over towards Method, and 32%, which makes 101, but it just changed for a single percent there for a moment. So let's check in with the casters as well, who I think are standing by and ready to go. Wait a minute, I haven't seen that guy all day. Is that Wolf?
What's up? I'm here. I've been hiding in the green room all day, but I'm back now, and I'm here for the rest of the night.
You excited to get into casting?
Yeah, finally. Very excited. It's been a long wait, but enjoying the game so far, but now I get to talk about them.
All right, guys, we'll take it away. Have fun.
Were we keeping Wolf in the cage? Is that, is that now we unleash the beast?
It's time to unleash the beast. And it's my first cast with you, of course, and we get to cast Deckard Cain together, the first of the tournament. We're going to start things off, of course, with CE on the blue side, with Wind on the Gyarados, 365 on Malfurion, Shuyu on Leoric, KTY on Greymane, and to close things out, Aluful bringing in the Phoenix.
And in the red, going to have Method here representing Europe at the Mid-Season Brawl. Schwimpy is going to be on Genji, Athero Angel playing Dehaka, Arcaner on the Muradin, Nick playing Li Ming, and Curson on the first Deckard Cain we've gotten here at the MSB. It's going to be exciting to see that unfold. I feel like Curson, obviously being at the MSB, you can't be a bad video game player whatsoever, but he has really been kind of stand out within the support role for a long while, especially on those kind of niche ones.
Yeah.
So I feel like Deckard really caters to that.
Yeah, I figured it'd be Hyde to be the first person to bring him into this tournament, just given how he loves to play supports before anyone else. But Curson takes the cake on this one. We have a short little pause here, but what do you think about the compositions? Because the reset composition for Method, I feel like it's really strong here, and Deckard can help empower it with his crowd control. I think they have the better draft, and it is going to be difficult, especially without any sort of global presence on the map here for CE, to actually control this map and control the objective.
Yeah. I do think it's very much going to be difficult, and I, can't help but fear the concept of a stay a while and listen, sitting still, and then here comes the double reset, right? It's literally like, which one would you like to start with, and which one would you like to finish with? So I definitely think, even in a macro sense and in a team fight sense, I am, a little bit intimidated here for the members of CE. But the one thing that I think is there going to be a redeeming quality has got to be the fact that we have Wind on the Garrosh. I feel like when this team is performing phenomenally, it's definitely with the hands of, Wind on a high-impact hero like Garrosh or Tyrael of the past.
Yeah, I think that Garrosh and Leoric together, if they can isolate a target, would be quite strong. Obviously, Deckard would probably be the biggest, person you're looking for to grab out of the composition, because everyone else has pretty good escapes. Even Li Ming has an opportunity to get out of that type of combo with Leoric grabbing him there, and then even the Planet Cracker potential that we saw Gilly allude to earlier. I think that's a bit of a pipe dream. We saw it in Dorm. This is a different level of play here at the Mid-Season Brawl, and if that's what you're reliant on, I don't think that is what they are reliant on, but if that's what you're reliant on, I don't think this comp is going to be very strong. The Leoric matchup is going to be a tough one in terms of global presence, because Leoric is going to have to rotate down faster, which means that bell tower control and experience lead is always going to be in Method's favor. They've got better delay tactics, arguably, with this comp as well for the altars, so it's a stronger comp, I think, for the map, but CE, they're going to have to fight their way through this to make it work.
Yeah, we have seen some variation with like the Phoenix attempt to be a bit of addressing kind of the off-lane role, right, and using that Planet Cracker as like a pseudo-global in some situations. But again, as Gillyweed had said at the analyst desk, that the nerfs coming into Phoenix, they were not light,
Yeah.
Phoenix was definitely kind of punished very, very quickly there as he was released into the Nexus, and I do question whether or not those changes were too relevant or too big, for it to see kind of level play. That being said, I don't think it's by no means like a Murky or, the Gazlowe. Like, it's not that level.
Yeah, it's definitely not that low. But yeah, he saw so many nerfs that he went from first pick, first ban potential to now he's not even relevant in every draft.
Yeah.
So a huge change of priority there. And picked late in the draft here, very intelligent. There's no counter per se on the side of Method here to try to shut down the Phoenix. So it was at least well placed in the draft, because oftentimes you can counter Phoenix with heavy dive or just straight up with blinds, depending on what build the Phoenix player is known for. The Genji can be a problem for Phoenix, but he has some escapes there. I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with the macro of Method. It's a Chinese team, not known for macro, and that's where my biggest concern comes. You let the early Dahaka through the draft, you didn't respond to that in any way, and their comp doesn't scream, I have the better team fight comp either. And it's got decent wave clear with both the, you've got Leoric, you have the Grey main, but it's not fantastic.
It is a composition, though, that let's say Method maybe gets a bit kind of out of hand with some of the decision making. I think it's very easy to bait your opponent into thinking they're in an ideal circumstance, mainly with the Leoric, right? So there are some moments, it's just whether or not that execution is very much going to be there. And I feel like that has been a lot of the tale, other than maybe Dignitas versus Tempest earlier today, for a lot of these teams is, the drafts aren't too lopsided, but it's looking at the skill and the comfort that these teams have. Do they have what it takes? So a lot to be proven here for CE.
Oh, certainly. Let's see how this early game shakes up. Right now we're seeing a lot of rotation here towards the first Sapper camp for CE. They have a comp that can clear that very quickly with the Grey main. Method not going to contest. Murden going to pop up here, Arcaner checking this out, but not going to actually go for a heavy contest here. Just don't have the comp that can do that against a Garrosh. Far too risky, and will just take their own camp a little bit slower.
And a level 1 there for Method, we do see the Sapphire picked up. The main thing there is when it is activated, having the increased slow on the Horadric Cube, it absolutely aids your ability to hit that huge snare later, because, that triangle pattern is a pretty slow kind of cast time. 30% slow makes it really, really high probability you get locked
and it's very strong against the heavy melee, heavy tank composition of CE as well. That slow can help you so much. You land the root there with the Scroll of Sealing. Also very powerful against the Grey main pick here, so I think it's a great level 1 given the situation. We do have the top lane was won by Shuyu. Obviously in the Leoric versus Dahaka, it's a little bit tough for Dahaka when he doesn't have anyone ganking for him. So he can rotate down, put a little bit more pressure on the mid lane. There's actually continuing to stay up there as Wind finds himself under pressure, gets stunned. Li Ming combo.
Huge amount of damage, but not enough to be able to lock that one down for the kill. Luful questioning if maybe they can get a bit of a rebuttlement there. But as you were talking about that off lane there between the Leoric and the Dahaka, one thing I did appreciate on the side of Method is that we saw, Ethereal willing to, even though he's getting pushed into, he wasn't clearing the wave. He's comfortable with this constantly pushing into him because he knows it's going to be difficult if, he's the one sieging out. And Greymane ganks, like we see kind of KTY making the transition up, not going to commit there to any part of the kill, at least not right away.
If you commit to trying to trade and you don't have vision of where Greymane is, you can end up really losing out, especially because you could very well be at that neutral camp. Shrimpy's going to come up here and relieve some of the pressure. Great unstoppable there to stop that drag. We're seeing an even bigger commitment up here into this top lane. Just goes to show you how much the macro matchup in that top lane makes a difference in this early game. Everyone is really committing a lot of resources to that top lane right before this altar phase.
And as you brought up before, the global advantage sitting on the side of Method, this is going to come to light very heavily with this Shrine phase, right? Both started with the priority on the top half, with being bottom is a huge transition, rotational advantage for Method if they would like to put that priority into it. Athero, though, is, for at least now, feigning interest towards that top lane. CE is kind of on a timer here, if you will. They're going to make the rotation down. 365 getting locked out by that Stormbolt. Schwimpy comes in there with a nice swift strike and gets first blood here for Method.
Wind able to get out of that scroll of ceiling. Could have been even worse there. A nice little grab on the side of Method. They had the early Dahaka right side shrine, so they had the faster rotation down. And with that altar taken, they have the top contested. Lyric has to stay up there. They're looking for a fight here up in numbers. Luful has to warp out. And now Genji's rotating down. It's not looking good for Luful. He's very low.
Shuriken auto there, and they got it. Man, Schwimpy, very, very good play. Not only locking in the first kill, taking the time in the downtime, backing out, get the soak on mid. Second, he shows himself back in the bottom lane. Cutthroat mentality, gets a second there. And Method find themselves with a pretty significant advantage. It looks like they had pretty good control in the macro sense, and now they're winning not only in shots and kills.
And that's the difference between a good Genji player and a great Genji player, is one who could identify how much mobility Genji has, how much you can soak mid and then rotate down. You have that man advantage, you have the top soak, you know that Lyric has to be up there. That's part of the reason why they chose him. He's a winning matchup if he's in the lane against Dahaka, so he has to stay up there. You know you have that mobility advantage, you get the soak, and you look for the pick on a greedy Phoenix. They can't, of course, push this further to steal the Sapper camp, but they've already got their own. They're going to push the pressure down now at mid. Phoenix, meanwhile, bottom. Meanwhile, Phoenix is mid. KTY under duress here. The wind going to block out the shots.
Sappers are making their way in, though. You see a nice route there coming out from Curson. What do we see in the victory there? Easy cleanup on the side of Method. Will they be able to escort any more in? They will. At least 2 out of the 3 there. That's pretty effective. And that's one of those things that you're like, we see the Sapper trade-off all the time, but I mean, if you're successful in that type of trade, those small victories are going to add up here for Method, so they got to be pretty thankful that in a, 3 versus 3 skirmish that they get any value, because typically that's like, you clear ours, we'll clear yours, we'll call it a day.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be the first neutral altar now in the bottom here, and this is going to be the one where CE really feels that global pressure, especially as you're taking this much damage. You could even be taken out. Shrimpy looking for the kill here, gets it with the deflect. And they're really going to feel the pressure now because Athero's going to be up here doing extra damage and top. Shrimpy's just going to back and head straight down to that bottom altar. And sure, Shuyu will respawn quickly here, but this is just going to be so much extra pressure. In fact, Dahaka rotating now mid to get even further soaked. They're going to have 10. All they have to do here is delay KTY's channel, and they're going to have a great team fight set up.
Person already setting up with a couple of the potions, but Arcaner gets flipped over. Nice root coming up from 365. Quite a bit of damage there. Stormbolt did land. Now Schwimpy looking to join the squad here as they zone out 4 members of CE. Leoric and Dahaka still yet to contribute here towards that bottom altar. Curson picks up the shots. 10 soon to follow up here from Method. CE playing it a bit slower. It feels like they're very much waiting for that 10 mark, and maybe for that Planet Cracker play, who knows? But it seems like that is where they feel their turn on moment with this comp is.
Oh yeah, it's very difficult too when you've lost your top laner, you're behind in that macro, and you're facing off against so much mobility with the Genji comp here, the long range coming out from Li Ming. We're seeing so much pressure put onto a Luful, abusing the fact that that warp was nerfed in recent patches. So it's much more difficult to actually be greedy, get that poke on with the Phoenix when Snippy can just come in there and take out your shields. If your shields are poked out by Li Ming, take out half your health bar, and then the fight is already over before it begins.
One thing I do like as well coming up from Schwimpy, hold up, nice Stormbolt. Wind trying to keep himself alive with all that armor, but not going to be able to do so there. Method find not a 4th kill there for themselves. But I was going to say Schwimpy making the transition in towards the X strike without Deckard Cain can't really keep that target alive that effectively. The only time I maybe could make that argument is if you take the Ruby at 4 to deal with that. But without that adjustment within the talents here, I do feel like, having that individual survivability is going to be a really nice tool.
It's extra, a little bit of extra mobility too in terms of chase potential to get on top of that Phoenix. That's one way you can to burst him down in pre-13. You might even be able to get a kill on the Malfurion before he's got that ice block. But yeah, I like that. And so one of the reasons why Korean teams are not really favoring Deckard Cain right now is because it doesn't have that big save potential, doesn't have a huge heal, doesn't have any invulnerability. Aluful going to get caught here by the stun, does not get hit by the Li Ming orb at max range there, so we'll keep his shields for the time being. The Orc rotating down, you're starting to see that experience soak really working in Method's favor here.
Yeah, it should be noted for CE, not only did we not get the Planet Cracker, but it's going to be March of the Black King, a bit more of a common talent in the Chinese region. Nice Stormbolt, perfectly zoning out a win there from the remainder of those Sappers. Alder's going to be looking to be a problem here. Arcaner's moving up.
Stun coming through, a huge combo there onto Wind. He's got that armor, but still, he's lost so much health, can't really be that impactful in the fight. We're going to see the Avatar come in. Stay a while, listen, here comes a huge combo potential. Look at the Li Ming damage coming through, and it's going to be resets galore here for Team Method. Silence just trying to help them escape, but it's not going to be enough. 365 goes down. Looks like it's going to be the full team wipe here. Method, one big combo here, and that's how this reset combo was supposed to work. That's how this comp was built. And it's just beautiful to see it in action.
I mean, we theorized it before where I was like, here's the Deckard Cain, stay a while and listen, and it's just choose what order you want to kill them. But I really didn't expect it first time to be executed that well. Like, it was, here's the 4-man, and they were like, wait for it, here's the 2-man X-Strike, max range Li Ming orb. Brilliant play there from Method, and now this secures them 9-0 when it comes to kills. But more importantly, that 13 talents here and a 2-level lead.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a pipe dream when it all works out so well like that. They don't even have the Hanzo arrow to set it up or anything like that. It's like, how could this really ever work in reality? How could it ever work in practice? But you get them all in that choke point, you hit that sleep, and you've got good enough players on the side of Method to execute it here. They take this bell tower. CE is going to commit all their resources here with the exception of Leoric to try to take it back. They're just having a hard time, obviously, even with the poke of Greymane and Phoenix. Always under duress from the Genji, as you can see. Shrimpy does end up eating that root, but will get out just fine. And this is just so much more map control now given to Method. They already have the macro advantage, and this basically doubles it when you have this bell tower control. Oh, man.
A really nice root, again, and the follow-up coming out from Nick. Always there, very impressive play so far onto the Li Ming. 28 seconds out from another altar phase, both on the top half, as Arcaner takes a bit of damage there with that cursed bullet.
It's so amazing for you, too. You always feel that great feeling when you have the bottom altar, or sorry, the bottom bell tower when the altars are top, because you've split the enemy into where he has to put his focus. Does he retake the bell tower? Does he go for the altars? You're on opposite sides of the map, so extra pressure. And even with these sappers, the pressure is further mounted onto CE. This is a great position for Method.
It's going to be a really difficult trade-off for the members of CE, but in theory, giving up one of those altars on the top half of it would be contested, but it's not going to be here by Method. I thought for a moment we'd see Method kind of poke and prod, give you a lose-lose scenario, but the Sapper timing wasn't maybe quite where they wanted, but instead they're going to look for the kill down below and protect those Sappers and escort them in.
Yeah.
I'm actually very impressed with CE in the transition there. I did not think there was a world that they end up denying Sappers and that top altar, but they got both.
It was really impressive. Oh, hold that thought. We're going to see a big stun here, but with the self-cleanse there from Windy is going to get out. Almost felt like Method was trying to bait a fight here, but CE didn't fall for that either, so they walked out with really...
Which is so not China.
Yeah, and yeah, that's so true. They lost 5 health on their core, but it could have been so much worse. But it doesn't change the fact that bell tower control still belongs to Method. They're going to have a 16 talent tier advantage. They're harassing.
The taunt?
X-Strike to get out there. Double root here with the Scroll of Sealing. He's committing in, but he does go down. Twilight Dream even committed to here. Method is going to have to back out. Fireworks here, and perhaps a little bit of showing off coming out from Shrimpy, but he does pay for it with his life.
It should be noted, that took 4 heroics to make that happen, just to kill a Genji who made it into your wall of death. So, I mean, though it is a silver lining, by no means is the momentum squandered back over to the side of CE. A lot to be earned here, but they will end up achieving this bottom bell tower conversion, which, though it doesn't seem like much in the world of experience, it means mountains when it comes to the idea of the macro control and pressure that Method can put out in this game. Method.
Yeah. I mean, Dahaka's rotating between top and mid non-stop here. The Soak lead continues. They have the Sapper control. As we head into this triple altar base, I think this is the moment once CE hits 16 where they have the opportunity to swing this game around. If they can't do it here, I don't know, this game feels like it's already over. So this is their chance.
Let's see what they end up doing here. Decision making over the last altar, pretty effective. Gonna need it to carry over. The 16 will be able to be picked up. The question is, can they, stall out long enough? Hold up, flip away. Nice lockdown on to win for a moment. Genji ends up getting the stall on the top left. Top right is gonna be picked up by a Thero Angel. So 4 shots here, picked up for Method. 8 still remaining on the board.
Let's see if Shrimpy can survive here. He's being collapsed upon. Meanwhile, this altar being fought over heavily. They do get the interrupt here, but it's a bad fight up in the top altar as well. So a lot going on here all at once. You guys can follow on the picture-in-picture.
Oh.
Even March of the Black King committed to top side here. They do get the root. Meanwhile, over here, just skill shots on both sides. March of the Black King not enough to save him.
Great job there by Shwimpy, as you saw in the bottom left, getting that first kill. That's going to lead to the channel on that section. While the bottom here, we see this being altar being channeled as well. Excuse me. Wow, the members of Method here, at only the cost of a Genji, accumulate 12 shots for themselves. That was clean play by Method. You could see that, the thought process that they wanted the altar phase before, they executed very, very well. And on a triple altar phase with that.
Now, we're going to see some commitment here to Arcaner, but Muradin easily able to just bounce out and walk away. Mostly unscathed here. Didn't have Avatar, but didn't need it. They're going to commit back into the fight here. Wind once again the target. Is going to get slowed. Thero wants more, but he's knocked in.
Tried to get the dodge on the root, but was unable to do so. Twilight Dream ends up being dropped there. 365 moving forward for a bit more. Stay a while and listen is going to land onto 3. First interrupt, or excuse me, kind of damage dealt there onto Lufu, allows him to get the escape. March of the Black King, it's going to go through. Resets are sought after here by the members of Method, but it doesn't look like they're going to get it. They're on full retreat here. KTY goes in with the groundbreaker knockup, and CE earned themselves a kill here, and uneven experience now.
Yeah, finally bringing it back here. It was unfortunate that Curson just had to retreat there. He had that passive 10% armor. Things could have gone even worse. It's difficult for Decker to get out, but when you use your CCs that well, you can escape. It could have been worse for Method, but CE now has an opportunity to take the boss. They can't do more with this. It's only a small window of time with the kill on Dahaka. They can't grab a bell tower, for example, but they are bringing themselves little by little into this game. However, they will need to gain at least one of these 2 altars, or their first game is over. Already dealing with the sapper pressure bottom. So everyone groups up now. This is their last chance. If they mess this up, it's over.
I would say CE was in a tough position. Hold up here. They're in a tough one now as the warp already forced on a Lufu. Good dodge there on the Nyx orb. Arcaner gonna get flipped over. Curse Bullet ends up dropping a lot of damage there. Forced out to use the Avatar. March of the Black King being used. Shuyu falling extremely low, but no reset available here for Method.
Yeah, they got to be careful about grouping up too much, too, with the sleep potential here coming out from Stay a While and Listen. This could end the game. Already one altar taken here by Dahaka.
Not even to consider if he hits that. It's almost D-shield if you end up hitting all the members, right? Just crowd control on your channel. But we see the Stormbolt land. Combo goes in, no reset yet. Curson starts the channel. Twilight Dream ends up dropping. They end up getting the first kill, but Curson, the channel, he ends up getting it, and that is game.
Oh man, so rare do you see in the middle of a team fight someone sneak the channel to end the game. Just too much blocking there with the tank front line coming through.